Hi, friends. My name's Alyssa. This is Stories and Spoilers, the podcast, and I am so excited for this episode. This is a full book talk about the Lake of Lost Girls by Katherine Greene. So, Katherine Greene, actually, this author is two best friends, which I think is super cool. But before we hop into the non-spoiler element and then the spoiler talk, I want to do a super tiny book haul. I have a few books that I've recently gotten through friends, either that I got on Target, authors have sent me, or that I just had my eye on, and I really wanted to bring them up with y'all. So, for people who are listening, please comment either on Spotify or YouTube and let me know which book you want me to do a book talk about first. So I'm just going to discuss these books a little bit. I'm going to do the title, and then I'm going to do the genre, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a description of the blurb before we hop into the non-spoiler talk about the Lake of Lost Girls. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to talk about The Witch's Entanglement by Sabrina Marley. Super cute. The cover is two women staring into each other's eyes under a moon covered in trees and sparkles and stars. It is sapphic. It is magical. I'm super excited. This is an indie author, so we love to see that. Thank you for the author for sending this to me. I am looking forward to having them on the podcast. But let me just read the back a little bit. It is early fall in 1975. The war is over. ABBA recently released their spectacular third studio album, and Gretchen Marigold is having the time of her life, making her way lovingly through wannabe witches who live alongside the real magic users in her coven. Gretch is leaving a trail of broken hearts, but satisfied lovers in her wake. Her life in the small town of Starbridge, Massachusetts is fun, carefree, and enchantingly delicious. Across town, rushing to a lecture on the religious pre-colonial Mexico, Jace's life is the opposite of carefree. Though she is too though she is too a witch, and far more powerful one at that, she is less than 2 semesters away from finishing her PhD at Wesley College, and her schedule is jam-packed. As a Black woman in academia, she has to work twice as hard for half the credit. As an ambitious woman with goals of helping those like her success of quality education, Jace works 3 times as hard. When these two very different witches meet, their opposing viewpoints and attitudes towards magic proves eruptive in more ways than one. But just as their unrelenting attraction towards each other begins to blossom into something deeper, a charismatic, powerful visitor comes to town and everything changes. In the passion between Jace and Gretchen, enough to subside their differences, or will they be torn apart by the opinions of others and the shadows of their past? And that is A Witch's Entanglement. I cannot wait to read this and talk about it with the author. This sounds so cute. I really love books that give similar vibes like Practical Magic and also give me the sapphic queer vibes I'm always looking for. So super excited to read this. Okay, two of these books go together. I won one from Silent Book Club, and then the other one I recently got at Target. It was 50% off, and that is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and a Strawberry Patch Pancake House. These look really cute. I had a friend from work tell me that she really liked this book, and I also am a big fan of single dad romances. I love a little bit of like grumpy sunshine, so that's what you're getting from a Strawberry Patch Pancake House. And then with a Pumpkin Spice Cafe, this is a small town romance. If I understand correctly, they both are small town romances, and they both have a little bit of spice. So I'm very excited to read this author. I'm into anything like cozy, so I'm very excited to read these. For A Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, references, I hear you. This is described as when Jenny's aunt gives her a beloved pumpkin spice cafe in the small town of Dream Harbor. Jenny jumps at the chance for a fresh start away from her very dull desk job. Logan is a local farmer who avoids Dream Harbor's gossip at all costs. But when Jenny's arrival disrupts Logan's routine and he wants nothing to do with her irrationally upbeat new girl, except that he finds himself inexplicably drawn to her. Cute. Will Jenny's happy-go-lucky attitude win over the grumpy but gorgeous Logan? Or has the city girl found the one person in town who won't fall for her charm or her pumpkin spice lattes. This sounds absolutely adorable. The pumpkin spice cafe sounds really, really cute. Why is it giving me a little bit of like the hating game vibes? You know, he's grumpy. He does not want to like her. She's amazing. She's wonderful. And she's determined for him to see how badass she is. It's definitely giving those vibes. A strawberry patch pancake house. With this one, I saw single dad, and I'm still kind of messed up over caught up by Liz Tom Ford. Anything single dad, you got me. You got me. Okay. So let's dive into the description of this one. A small town spicy romance. As a world renowned chef, single dad Archer, ooh, we love an Archer, never planned on moving to a small town, let alone running a pancake house. But Dream Harbor needs a new chef, and Archer needs a community to help raise his daughter. Iris has never managed to hold down a job, so when Mayor Kelly suggests Archer is looking for a live-in nanny, she almost runs in the opposite direction. Now Iris finds herself in a whole new world, one where her gorgeous new boss lives right across the hall and likes to cook topless. Keeping everything strictly professional should be easy, right? Oh, this sounds super, super cute. The Strawberry Patch Pancake House, that is a tongue twister. This looks absolutely adorable. I cannot wait to read both these books back to back. Maybe I should do an episode, a non-spoiler, like double episode, just describing how much I love these books. Let me know if you're into that. Okay. All right. These last two books I actually got at Target. I got them on discount for 50% off because I had a gift card. I wanted to use it. I won't be going back to Target, but I did want to get that little deal last run and just get some really cool books. So this one, if you get my drift, you're going to see what trope I really, really love. This is 9-Month Contract by Amy Daws. And I'm super, super excited to see this and read this. This has sprayed edges. It's like a plaid, beautiful version. The cover is a curvy woman and a lumberjack kind of guy under the sun in front of a red barn, and they're looking at each other side eye, but it's kind of flirty, super cute. So I'm excited to read this. I remember I read the back and I was like, ooh, I haven't read this before. So I'm very excited to read it. Help wanted. Grumpy mountain man seeks baby mama. Job is in incubator position only. Surrogate must be impervious to grunting as a form of communication. And nosy brotherly neighbors. Rustic mountain range housing available upon request. I wanted to pummel my irritating brothers when they posted their own version of a wanted ad to help me with my life. But I can't fault the results once the right woman lands in my lap. Becoming a single father is not a decision I made lightly. In fact, it is the biggest decision of my entire life, which is why I interviewed Trista. I know she's perfect. She's wild. She's opinionated. She wears cowboy boots. Even my pet goat loves her. She's the exact type of person I was holding out for. And to my great horror, I realized on our first night of attempting this baby making dance, when the lights are low and the cheap wine is flowing and the home insemination supplies are laid out on the kitchen counter, I want to do a lot more than just make her my surrogate. I want to make her mine. This sounds absolutely adorable. Okay. I am here for family planning. I am here for someone saying, I want to be a single parent, but also kind of finding love. I want to understand more about how he got to that point. I want to understand their chemistry. I am 100% here for this. It sounds absolutely adorable. Okay. My last book is a bit of I want to fill that gap that the Hunger Games left. I want a little bit of a dystopian energy. We're not supposed to be together, but we are. I want high stakes. I want it all. You know what I mean? I want it all. And I want a little bit of like a glitch Tron element, futuristic, if you will. You know, I was a dystopian girly. I grew up in the element of like Divergent, Hunger Games, Clockwork Princess. Like I was there when the word was written. So this book I've seen floating around, and it's sapphic. So I really, really want to read it. This is A Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reid. This is from the same author of Study in Drowning. This has beautiful kind of indigo and green sprayed edges. The book, when it's Nikki, without its sleeve, has an iridescent silver cover that has like a beautiful kind of deer on it with 3 eyes. It's super funky. So that was beautiful. But what really pulled me in was the description on the inside tab. The Lamb's Gauntlet is a live streamed assassination spectacle, and the next lamb has been chosen. It's very like vague. And I'm here for that. I'm here for that. As I look into the description of this book, The Fable for the End of the World, I wanted to kind of reference how important it is to me that in fantasy and romantasy, there is always that element of like not knowing. I think sometimes when you describe a book too much, like going in blind, if you know too much, it takes away from the excitement of it all. But sometimes I need to read that blurb so I know what I'm going into. So this is The Last of Us meets The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes in this standalone dystopian romance about survival, sacrifice, and a love that risks everything. This is from Goodreads. By encouraging massive accumulations of debt from its underclass, a single corporation, Curious, controls all aspects of society. I'm sorry if I butcher these names. Anissa lives with her brother in a half-sunken town where they scrape by running a taxidermy shop. Unbeknownst to Anissa, her cruel and indolent mother has accused an enormous debt, enough to qualify one of her children for Curious's live-streamed assassination spectacle, The Lamb's Gauntlet. Maloney is a curious assassin trained to track and kill the sacrificed lambs, the product of neural reconditioning and psychological alteration. Ooh, it's giving Winter Soldier. She is a living weapon, known for her cold brutality and deadly beauty. She has never failed to assassinate one of her marks. When Anissa learns that her mother has offered her as a sacrifice, at first she despairs. The gauntlet is always a bloodbath for the impoverished debtors, but she had years of practice surviving in the apocalyptic wastes, and with the help of her hunter brother, she might stand a chance of staying alive. For Malone, this game she can't afford to lose. Despite her reputation of mercilessness, she is haunted by painful flashbacks. After her last gauntlet, where she broke down on livestream, she desperately needs redemption. As Mel pursues Anissa across the wasteland, both girls begin to question everything. Anissa wonders if there's more to life than survival, while Mel wonders if she's capable to more than killing. And both wonder if, against all odds, they might be falling in love. That is Fable for the End of the World. The cover is a woman with like whitish silvery hair, and she's touching, caressing the face of a beautiful tan woman with like dark hair and green eyes. And there's like elk horns that are like kind of glitchy, like a computer going off, and they're standing and these like purplish green leaves staring at you, the reader. It is absolutely gorgeous. If you're not looking at the visuals, this is such a pretty book, and I cannot wait to read it. So that is my little mini book haul for y'all. I am beyond excited to read all of these books. I will be reporting back. I just finished finals. Before I start my summer classes, I'm hoping to read these awesome books. But let's hop right into a non-spoiler talk about what y'all came here for. And that is a bit of a murder mystery, dual point of view, dual timelines. There's a lot going on in this book, y'all. So please get a cozy drink, sit, chill out. I'm gonna try to describe this book as much as I can. I have my notes, so if you see me looking down, that's why. Okay, so The Lake of Lost Girls. Here are some fun facts about the book. It was released November 5th of 2024, so a day before my birthday. The physical book length is about 320 pages. I read this as an audiobook through my library on Libby. It was around 10 hours and 15 minutes. I read it in like a week. It was a lot going on. This is Katherine Greene's second book following The Woods Are Waiting. And the audiobook was immersive. Like each character's voice in this book was so different and clear. I didn't get confused with the cast of people because there was a lot going on, but it was very clear who was talking and their personalities, their reasons. Everyone kind of had it kind of felt like Knives Out. In this sense, there were a lot of characters, but they were all so specific and all so different. I never really got confused. Here's some of the book tropes: missing person, grief, twists and turns, multiple point of views, 3 to be exact, a podcast linked to the story. So you have the murder and missing persons in the past. You have the present, where a lot of the evidence is beginning to kind of come up from the surface, even though it's a cold case. So people are getting more and more curious. And then you have this podcast, this fictional podcast for the book, where they are interviewing people from the past, and they're like, oh hey, like, weren't you there during this person's missing case? Didn't you live in their dorm? They start interviewing people who were there from the crimes. And you get to kind of see the difference between people and the media. and like how they're receiving information and how reliable a lot of those sources are versus the actual people involved. So you get the point of view of the older sister, the one who goes missing, and then you get the point of view of the younger sister who's now an adult, and how the families of these victims are impacted by true crime podcasts. She remembers a lot about what she had to go through, people questioning her, people only wanting to get to know her because of the crimes. Like you get a lot of that as well. So it's very interesting. This book is set in the late 90s. So it's late 90s to present day, kind of flips back and forth. This is a 24-year-old cold case, very mysterious. If you like similar vibes as like Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, and you also really enjoy kind of a twisted sisterly relationship, this will be for you. Because even though they didn't have a good relationship, like one of the sisters was a lot older, she was in college, and her little sister was like, I want to say middle school. They weren't close like that. You do get a sense of love and kinship. So when there is loss, you feel it as a reader, and you do kind of relate to both women. You want to understand them more. This is also set in North Carolina, so it was definitely given South vibes, a little South. Trigger warnings: there's missing person, drinking, grooming, murder. It's definitely a darker book, so please put your mental health first. If that's a little bit too much for you, I totally understand, and I have other episodes available for you to listen to if you don't necessarily want to hear about this one. So I'm going to read the blurb from Goodreads, and you can let me know if you like it, if you're here for it. I will say this: for people who are looking for that book after, like, they give you the same oh my god moment as like Gone Girl, Gillian Flynn, like The Guest List by Lucy Foley. If you're looking for a book that's going to grip you like that, like once the twist comes, you're shooketh, this book is for you. The cover is a woman's body, a silhouette in bright green lake water, and the text is this like bright neon yellow, The Lake of Lost Girls. So here's a description of the book from Goodreads. Told in alternating timelines, The Lake of Lost Girls is a haunting novel that will thrill fans of all the good people here, and we were all the same in the dark. Using suspenseful podcast clips to weave a twisty tale of a missing person and her sister who is desperate for answers, The Lake of Lost Girls is perfect for fans of I Have Some Questions for You. In 1998, same year I was born, the female students are going missing in Southern State University in North Carolina. Freshman Jessica Fadley, once a bright and responsible student, is going through her own struggles. Just as her life seems to be careening dangerously out of control, she suddenly disappears. 24 years later, Jessica's little sister, Lindsay, is desperately searching for answers and uses the momentum of a new chart-topping true podcast, 10 Seconds to Vanish, that focuses on the cold cases to guide her own investigation. Soon, interests reach fever pitch when the bodies of long missing women begin to turn up at a local lake, which leads Lindsay down a disturbing road of discovery. In the present, one sister seeks to untangle a complicated web of lies. In the past, the other descends even deeper into darkness that will lead to her ultimate fate. This propulsive and chilling suspense is a sharp examination of sisterhood and the culture of true crime. Listen, this is one of my favorite mysteries I've read in a very long time. Like, it's been hard to find a really good thriller and mystery after reading The Guest List by Lucy Foley, because there were so many. There's something about having a lot of characters and you can't really trust all of them that makes me really enjoy a murder mystery, because I want to feel like it could be anyone. So when the murderer does, like when they do reveal themselves, I want it to be like, there's no way it could be you. And they're like, actually it is A, B, and C. This is what I did. I love moments like that. And this book, I didn't see it coming. Like, I can actually say I had no idea. Like, when the last chapter hits, that audiobook, when the voice comes through, I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? And it all comes together and you're like, huh? As all I'm going to say before we dive into spoilers, I have to give you all the pieces for the spoiler section so it makes sense who the killer is and why they did what they did. But I was shook. So if you enjoyed this description of this book, it is something that you maybe want to read, I'll have all the books that I referenced linked below, not only from my book haul, but also this book, so you can find it, add it to your TBR. I highly recommend getting it as an audiobook because it did give that podcast vibe. Hearing the podcast and like One of them has an Australian accent. It was definitely giving like, I don't know. It was giving like true. If you are a fan of podcasts and like true crime, it was giving a little bit of like Rotten Mango vibes. Just the level of detail they had with the podcast, it felt very fleshed out. But yeah, it was a super good book, so I highly recommend that. If you are good, I'm going to hop into the spoiler talk. So I'm going to give you 2 seconds to switch off. If you loved this, please like it on YouTube, comment, also follow and subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify. Give me a good little rating if you can. And I'm going to dive into some of my favorite quotes before you go. Sometimes memories come to us that have a major impact. They were the picture of a perfect family. They could be my family. It made me want to cry. I wanted to be the kind of girl who was always having a good time. Being stuck in my own head was the last place I wanted to be. I felt uncomfortable. I felt an uncontrollable shiver. I felt like I was being watched. A figure on the opposite side of the room caught my attention. He was ridiculously attractive, and that should have made me suspicious. You're giving me hope, Jess. That's a dangerous thing. I was not a match for men who wanted something. Dalai Lake was full of shadows. Kids swore it was haunted. Wailing women, angry men, bodies wrapped in cloth, weighed down at the bottom of the lake. There was nowhere else I'd like to be than by his side. It's where I thought I'd always belong. I parked my car. I sat there for a time. I tried to remember what it would be like to be young and carefree, before life held you down those ugly paths, and the people you loved twisted into someone unrecognizable. A man who can destroy things can easily destroy you. Lies are my family's love language. I had a hard time doing what was the best for me. Need to be loved above all others was my downfall. Those are my favorite quotes. Listen, we're hopping into spoilers, y'all. So don't say I didn't warn you. All right, we're gonna hop into it right now. So Jessica, who I imagined as Lily Collins, is the oldest sister in this family. It's Jessica, and then you have Lindsay, who was 6 years old when Jessica goes missing. Jessica actually goes missing on Lindsay's birthday. She came from college. She's driving distance. She came from college, drove home after a lot of horrible things going on in her college. People are going missing. She's being harassed by a professor who wants to do like sexual things with her, and she does not want to do that. She's a very controlling boyfriend. She's been drinking a lot. She's been really stressed with school. And she keeps telling everyone, like, the murderer is not coming for you. Like, you guys are blowing this out of proportion. You're scaring everyone. This is a lot. Like, stop. And long story short, she also feels a lot of pressure from her parents to get good grades. She's already struggling personally with like her mental health. And her dad, Jessica's dad, like the older sister, her dad is constantly calling her. And it kind of alludes, like, it makes you feel like, is her dad a creeper? Like, is he a pedophile? But it's not what you think. It's actually not what you think. So I was like, oh, the dad's a creeper and like he's in love with his oldest daughter. Like, that's so creepy. But you end up finding out the dad like cheats on the wife all the time. He's a teacher at the high school, and he like sleeps and cheats and kisses like these young girls. And his oldest daughter, like, she went out to a diner one night. She was going through a lot mental health wise. And long story short, she ends up like seeing her dad and like come out of a movie theater with this really young girl and like kissing this young girl. And she's like, hello, I told you to stop cheating on mom. He's like, I can't stop. Don't judge me. And it always alluded in the book that the dad was really close to Jessica, the oldest sister who goes missing. He was really close to her, and he like would take her fishing, and they were really close. And he was never close to Lindsay, the younger sister, like that. He was not close to her like that. It's giving Eve's Bayou, creepy. And long story short, you end up finding out that every single time the dad cheats and Jess finds him, like, she gets really angry and really frustrated. And at one point when he's bringing her into her dorm, the dad is like helping her like bring boxes to the dorm. Her dad ends up wandering off, and Lindsay has a memory like from when she was a kid. She thinks back to it, and she remembers seeing her older sister look she was gonna cry. She's like, oh, you're gonna cry because like you're moving out, we'll miss you, we'll always visit you. And it turns out that she's crying because like she sees her dad like flirting with one of the girls in her hall, and that girl is later revealed to have gone missing. Turns out these girls have begun to go missing because Jessica, in her rage, my girl angry, She kills the girls that her dad cheats on her mom with. The reason she was getting really frustrated and like upset with her friends was because she saw like a lot of like there was a professor on her campus who had like a wife who was pregnant and like a very young daughter, and Jess ends up seeing this professor like kissing one of her like really quiet and meek friends, and she tries to tell her friend like in a flashback like please stop kissing him, don't sleep with him, don't do it. And Jessica's ex-boyfriend, he was like, yeah, I saw him, like it'll lose it, like she's giving him like oral, like this girl was giving the professor oral sex in his car. And Jessica sees this and she knows he's a father. She knows he's married. And instead of blaming the man, Jessica's like, well, these girls are like tempting him. And I'm like, girl, what? And long story short, she ends up trying to tell these girls, like, don't sleep with these men, don't do these things. And these girls are like, girl, mind your business. Jessica ends up being like, you know what? F it. And she kills these girls. Like she would like hit them across the head. She would do this stuff. She would call her dad in the middle of the night and be like, I did it again. And that's why the dad was always calling at night, because he was like trying to help her cover up her crimes, like dispose of the bodies. Like the bodies in the lake are actually Jessica's victims. Her victims. And in present day, when their bodies begin to like rise from the lake, they find Jessica's locket with one of the dead bodies. The mom, all these years later, and the dad's still alive, the mom and dad are like, oh my God, like Jessica went missing. Like we really want to find her. Like she was one of the missing girls. And it turns out throughout the book, you keep hopping from back, you know, past to present. And you end up finding out Daisy, one of Jessica's roommates, she was kind of a party girl in the beginning, but she ends up getting her shit together and she ends up becoming a like an advisor, I guess, or like a counselor at the college. And she low key was like beginning to think like something's off with Jessica, because Daisy would always lose her ID. And for anybody who's ever been on a college campus and had an ID, if you lose it, you have to pay to get a new one most of the time. So it's a bitch when you lose one. And long story short, Jessica, like, she's like, hey girl, can I borrow your ID? Daisy's like, yeah, no problem, girl. Gives her. And long story short, Daisy's like, hey, the cops pulled me over and were like questioning me about all the missing girls because my ID was found each time, like it was being used in the same places these girls were found. Like one girl was found murdered at the library, or like there was blood somewhere. My ID was used there recently, like near the printer. Like it was little things like that. And Daisy's not stupid. Daisy's like, girl, weren't you using my ID? And Jess is like, no, why would you say that? No, why are you questioning me? And I was like, red flag. I'm like, damn, girl, red flag. And it turns out Jess, yes, was using her roommate's ID to get to these places to question these girls, not realizing she's leaving a paper trail in a way. Long story short, you flash from the present and the past, and the podcast knows that, and like they reference a lot of these like missing girls, and like they have some of the pieces, but they don't have all of it. And you end up finding out that yeah, the dad was never preying on Jessica. He was trying to make her stop like killing people, but he couldn't stop cheating. Chicken of the egg. And long story short, the dad one night, like when Jessica is there for Lindsay, her little sister's birthday party, she's getting the cake from the back seat of her car, and her ex-boyfriend sees her getting the cake. He like, she broke up with him pretty much. He followed her home. He was drunk. He was messed up. He dropped his keys and he was going to get his keys in his car. He looked up. She's gone. She disappeared. He only saw her talking to an older man in the dark. He couldn't really see much. You assume the older man is the professor who was trying to sleep with her. Hear me, hear me. She turned that man down. She's like, I'm not fucking sleep with you. He's like, I will literally ruin your life. She went, I will literally kill you. He went, I'm gone. He drives away. Turns out the older man was Jessica's dad. So the dad is like, you need to stop killing people. Talk to me in the barn. Let's go talk in the barn. Her and her dad go in the little fucking shed, the barn or whatever. And that's where he keeps his boat. That's where he keeps his like fancy car. Like he never uses it. In present day, he's never using his car. And Lindsay remembers seeing her dad always sitting in his car, like crying or like listening to music or like talking to himself and crying. And she's like, oh, he's grieving. Turns out the at the very end, you end up finding out that like the dad was trying to communicate with the sister. He was like, please stop killing people. She's like, I'll stop when you stop cheating. And he's like, oh, I cannot do that. I was like, damn, bro. And you end up hearing her try to justify like why she was killing these people. And she says like, I tried to explain to them, the victims, the girls, just as like I tried to explain to them what a broken family looked like, but they wouldn't listen. how she used her roommate's car to hit Tammy, one of the victims, with a pipe. She's like, you won't listen? Boom, hits her, kills her. They long story short, she's like, Tammy wouldn't listen. One of the victims, she's like, she wouldn't stop, sleeping with the professor. She wouldn't stop. And she's like, I had to kill her. Because then if I kill her, then this nuclear family will survive. Horrible, horrible. Uh, months later, long story short, she ends up finding this other girl that her dad slept with, and she ends up strangling her. I was like, girl, why in the hell? Like, why would you do this? Moving on. Jessica ends up telling her dad, like, she just wanted to protect their family. And he's like, oh, she's never going to stop. She's never going to stop. And long story short, in present day, the dad, his younger daughter, who's now an adult, and the ex-boyfriend, who's now, he was like trying to hit on his ex-girlfriend's little sister, which is really fucking weird. He was acting like he didn't know her, but we know he did. He's like, oh, I'm a journalist. You bum ass. He just wanted to know what happened with the crime. I don't think he ever really cared about her, but that's minor in this story. It's minor. So long story short, the dad is confessing to his crime. He's like, I strangled your older sister. I hid her body in the shed, in the boat near my fancy car. That's why I never let you go in there, because her skeleton's in there. And like, I talked to her, and like, I didn't want people to see her as a monster. So I made them think she was one of the missing girls. When in reality, your sister is the one who killed all these girls. I was like, no, no. And he pretty much is like, if you're going to call the police, tell them I did it. Don't tell the police it was your sister. Don't let her be this monster. Like, she had a problem. I don't want that to ruin her memory. Like, let them think she was also a missing girl. So his younger daughter, Lindsay, she ends up doing that. She calls the police. She tells them it was her dad. Like, her dad's the one who committed the crimes. But we know it was actually the older sister. The mom ends up getting divorced from the dad. And it was a lot. Like, and he pretty much says, like, he says, I helped bury the first girl. We tossed her mistakes into the water. She was the danger. She had to be stopped. So he pretty much says, like, when he strangled her, he didn't want to, but he knew she would never stop unaliving people. In the end, she could see how much it was destroying me. Taking the life of someone you loved is the hardest thing you could do. I had to protect every other woman she could see as a threat. Woo! That was the dad's point of view. I'm like, damn, that's terrifying. In present day, Lindsay asked where Jessica's body is. Jessica killed all these women due to breaking. She thought these women's actions were leading to the death of these families, these happy families. She blamed the women. We also get Benjamin, the father's point of view, 2 times. So he said he tried to drop her body in the lake, but he couldn't do it in the past. So he had to bring her back home. And he said that he would like talk to her. And I'm like, oh, he had a break from reality. That means it's not present. And then you get this line where he says, it was better for her to be a missing person than a monster. I went, Ben, the dad, you creepy. That's creepy. You kept her body this whole time and you acted like she was missing. That's creepy. And then Ryan, the ex-boyfriend, ends up saying, he's telling the police, like, I only ever wanted what was best for my girl. Long story short, like, her body's still there, bro. Like, what do you mean? You were broken up as well, may I add. Okay, it's been like 20 plus years. You end up getting at the very end of the podcast, the 10 seconds to vanish, the last episode. They end up kind of giving you a bullet point of like what's going on now in the present. So Benjamin, the dad, was taken down for all the murders. He's in jail. The mom filed for divorce. She sold the house. Understandable. Lindsay, the younger sister, ends up moving to New York, and she's working at a hotel. She really enjoyed hospitality. Ryan, the ex-boyfriend, is now an award-winning journalist. He really was a journalist. I think he just wanted to get really close to the story. He didn't really care for Lindsay. He still loved his ex-girlfriend, even all these years later. Even though the relationship was not great, he still loved her. I see the relationship was not great because you get the older sister's point of view, and she's like, he was not all that in a bag of chips. Like, she was a sociopath. He served a purpose. And I was like, okay. And the last part is Dr. Daniel, the professor who was super creepy and like preying on students. His wife ends up divorcing him, and his retirement was frozen. He was like, oh, no one's gonna retire. I'm retired. No one's gonna blame me for the crimes. Bitch, it was still shown that like he was preying on students. So his retirement's frozen. That man also got divorced. Boom, done. That is the end of the Lake of Lost Girls. Obviously there was a lot more that happened, but I wanted to really describe the crime, who did it, why they did it, All the Missing Girls. This book was so like so well written, and I would read anything that these authors write because it was just such a fast paced, like intense mystery. I loved the audiobook. I'm probably gonna read another one of their books when it comes out. And like I said, I casted Lily Collins as Jess, the older sister, and I imagined Florence Pugh as Lindsay, but I imagined like a gothic Florence Pugh. You know what I mean? Like she had to look like she had healed fully. So yes, but I absolutely adore this book. I hope that you end up reading it. I hope that you liked this episode, and I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful day.